Hey, 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 it's Dr. Sasheen. Welcome back to Women in Transition, your vlogcast for the Gen X woman who is in the transition period of her life, going through many different things, and I'm here to help you through it. Today, we're talking about relationships. This one is kind of a big deal because, in light of social media, all too often, social media gets up in arms about um, people, usually celebrities, who are doing things that they don't like. Okay. That's totally legitimate. When you step into the public eye, you do waive a certain level of expectation of privacy, and your life becomes something to be scrutinized under the magnifying glass or microscope, whichever one you want to use. Just a second. I have the sliding doors open because I want some air to flow through the house as I'm recording. And it's a nice day. Finally, it's not super hot. You can definitely tell that fall is coming. Leaves are starting to turn and the weather is nice, but my pollen is kicking my tail. So my eyes are really scratchy today and my voice is a little scratchy. So hopefully I don't sound like I feel because I feel very stopped up. But anyway, um, I was rolling around social media and one of my favorite creators, someone that I follow who actually follow on social media, because that's really where I found her, but I have her books in my house and I've watched some of her shows. I don't watch a ton of serial shows just because I don't have time. But I do follow this person and I've watched her channel and I find that whenever she says something, people tend to listen for good or for bad, right? So as I was rolling around social media over the past week, this particular creator, actually, I will call her what she actually is, this particular businesswoman, owns a fairly large brand and is more than just a content creator. I mean, content creation is not a bad title, but it's only one piece of who she is. Anyway, she made a comment about entrepreneurship and working a 9 to 5, and that elicited a lot of response from people. A lot of response. It was Tabitha Brown. Sorry, I don't know if I actually said that, but and I should make sure that I say that because so many people say so many things and the internet buzzes for 24 hours. But this one actually lasted a few days. So it was a pretty significant conversation that kicked off around what she was saying. And I mean, it was covered by the heavy hitters and small channels alike. Everyone had an opinion and something to say. But what I want to focus on is the parasocial relationship that people get into with people they do not know. But I mean, if you don't know what the term parasocial relationship means, it means relationships with someone who is in the social realm who you don't actually have an IRL in real life relationship with, but you act as if you do. And so the depth and level of that parasocial relationship can be fairly shallow, which is what most of us have with a celebrity. We like them, we follow their stuff, we're interested in their personal life, but at the end of the day, they have their stuff and we have ours, and they're pretty separate. It can be as intense as a stalking fan who attempts to infiltrate, right, a celebrity's life and become part of their world in ways that turn out to be very poor, very bad for either the celebrity or the fan or both. And then you've got every flavor in between on that continuum. So when the big kerfuffle came about, the responses were interesting. People fell where they were going to fall. But what was fascinating to me was the level of ownership over a relationship that isn't real that people took. Like there were people who were really angry and not at the message, but at the messenger, as if this woman had done something wrong to them. And that's what I want to talk about today because I think, especially as Gen X women, we don't sometimes realize that we lived at we don't because we're awash in social media now and it's like we can't escape the influence of social media that we remember what it was like before this time period, but we get caught up, right? Like we are just as susceptible, I think maybe sometimes even more susceptible to the parasocial relationship that we get into with people on the internet because we grew up as the latchkey generation, the lost kids, remember, who were really independent, had to fend for themselves, and so can be very loyal to people that we believe that we are in relationship with, even if that relationship isn't necessarily loyal to us. hint, hint, or real in some important ways. Um, so as I was thinking through what I was going to talk about and how I was going to put this as delicately as I can, what I was what really comes to mind is, and if you caught my live on Tuesday, if you are free on Tuesdays at 11 Central Standard Time, please join us for a tea break where we get together and we chit chat for about 30 minutes about whatever comes to mind. And one of the things that came to mind was that we tend to um, project our feelings onto other people, right? We project our insecurities, our sadness, our fear, our anger onto other people and make it their problem for our feelings. And I watched that happen a lot with the Tabitha Brown, and it happens with all kinds of celebrity. We watch people project, and we project our feelings onto them as if they have done something to us directly, and as if they can somehow solve it by not doing the thing that not doing whatever it is that they've done that we don't like, right? Now, I'm not talking about um the problematic people. I'm not going to get into the other thing that happened this week. I'm not talking about that. I am talking about when people have these weird social relationships with people on the internet and they forget that they don't really know that person. They don't know that person behind the scenes. All they know is what's in front of them. And when what's in front of them cracks or the mask moves, slips sometimes, or just moves, um, they respond in ways that keep them stuck in this loop, this hurt that they feel like, I can't believe this person said this thing or did this thing or didn't do this thing, and they're just stuck in their feelings over a person who doesn't even know them, who has no clue they exist in the world. And you see this coming sometimes the other direction when celebrities put too much stock in what a certain section of their fandom is saying, right? They forget that they're loved by millions of people because they listen to the 10,000 really loud naysayers and they hyper focus on that to the detriment of their own happiness and stability. It works both ways. Like that parasocial relationship will keep you stuck in places that you don't need to be in because it's not real. The relationship is not real. So I'm going to just say that. The parasocial relationship that you have online with people that you might think you know, unless you have spending time offline with those people, you don't really know them. And it can be really difficult in this day and age to remember that because so much of social media is designed to be real life content, right? It's designed to be content that makes you feel like you've been pulled in, that makes you feel like you're part of the family. But the reality is, unless you're at the dinner table, you're not part of the family. Unless you are in the bedroom hearing the pillow talk, you're not part of the family. Unless you're on the vacation, on the plane, sitting next to that person, talking to them, you're not part of we're not part of the family. So when someone says something that hurts us or hurts your feelings in this parasocial relationship, the anger and jealousy, oh my gosh, the anger and jealousy and rage that people feel is because in their minds, they're more important to this person, this online person, in their minds, they're so much more important than they actually are. And I'm not even just talking about celebrity now. I'm talking about anybody that you've met in the interwebs that you think you have one kind of relationship with. You may find that you do not have that kind of relationship with them, which is why when they do a 180, you feel a certain kind of way. Now, I used to follow a content creator. I'm not going to say her name simply because I have no desire to support her work now. And I'm not going to send y'all to find her because I don't want y'all to support her work either. And I'm very clear about that. But part of what I had to understand was that when she changed, when she 180'd away from who I thought she was, when she was no, when she was went from anyway, she did a 180 from whom I believe that she was from the persona that she had put out into the world for many years, right? But I didn't really know that woman. I didn't really know her, but I thought I did. So when the 180 came, and it wasn't a sudden 180, it was a gradual, right? She just started making the turn. And it took me a minute to figure out that the turn was happening. And then all of a sudden it was there. And I was like, whoa, like, where did this come from? Sorry, there's a squirrel outside. Where did this come from? And who are you? And I never knew this about you because I didn't, because I was in a parasocial relationship with someone that I thought that I knew. I consumed her content. Luckily I didn't spend a ton of money with this person, which is great because when the shift happens, I was very upset. But that's kicker. And that's why I'm telling the story from my perspective. When the shift happened and I realized, "Oh, you're not you're not who I thought you were." Not in any what I realized was that I had put too much trust in the persona. And that's fine, but I don't know this person. I've never really known this person. I've only known what they've chosen to show me to pull me into the community, which is what people do on social media, especially if they're a business owner or a content creator, they're running a brand, like they want to bring you, I want to bring you into my community, right? I'm not going to do 180. What you get is what you see. So what you get is what you see. But when that happened, and this has probably been a year or two ago that this happened. When that happened, what I understood was that I had a couple choices here. I could be pissed, and I was pissed. But I wasn't pissed because she 180, that's your right. I was pissed because I didn't see the signs. And then I realized there's no way to see those signs on the internet. All you have to do a 180 is just stop posting about one thing, wait a month or 2 months and start posting about something else. And the whole world like, oh my God, it's such a big change. It probably wasn't a big change. Behind the scenes, I don't know what's been going on. All I know is the next time I saw your content, you were saying something that I thought was crazy, and I couldn't figure out where that came from. And then now from that moment forward, the content is now along this vein. It's like, oh, well, you might have always been that person. That's just not the role that you were playing for me. You're not playing that role for me anymore. And the sadness that came with realizing that perhaps I'd made a mistake was tempered by the reality of I could only respond to what this person was putting out there. That's it. Like I can't be held responsible for believing you were one kind of person and then realizing that you were a different kind of person. You didn't put out there that you were this kind of person. If you had have, I would never followed you to begin with. Right? It's just like when we get into bad relationships with people who start out to be good to us. And then when the minute they put the ring on our finger, they 180 into somebody that we've never met before. Well, how was I supposed to know that you were going to turn into Dr. Jekyll? You were Mr. Hyde. And you did everything in your power to convince me that you were Mr. Hyde and not Dr. Jekyll, and I had no reason to believe otherwise, because why would I? The difference with the parasocial world, the social media world, is because we get so much content that is designed to make us believe a slice of life is in fact the entire life. When the hit comes, it can feel like such a betrayal. But this is where our emotional intelligence needs to kick in. We need to remember I literally don't know these people. I don't know them. I know only the slice of their life that I'm allowed to peek into. Other than that, I don't know these people. I can remember when Jackie Aina, who is now Jackie Asmoa, was um she shows a lot. I don't know if you know who she is, but I'll link to her YouTube channel. She's a beauty influencer, uh, content creator, brand ambassador, and she owns her own company. And didn't always follow her because I don't do a lot of beauty influencers just because I just don't. But she got on my radar. I forget why. But I started following her and I think I was following her on TikTok when I was still on TikTok. Anyway, she got on my radar and one of the things I immediately realized was how much of her life we don't see. And she is very clear about how much of her life is nobody's business. None of your business. When she got engaged, none of your business. All of a sudden, they got married. None of your business. Her husband, I think his name is Dennis. For the longest time, I didn't know who that man was. She never talked about him. He wasn't in any of her videos. I mean, I'm sure and for I don't know how long they've been together because it's none of my business. But what's interesting and fascinating in this example is that when I don't know if it's when she got engaged or when she got married. I'm not sure. There was a tussle in the comments of her post about why she didn't say anything and w- uh, there was this back and forth. about how much of her life was actually for public consumption and how much of it was private. And a lot of creators and people in the limelight struggle with how much of my life do I have to give to you to retain you as part of my fandom and my community, but then how much of my life do I get to keep private because it's just none of your business. I want to argue from the perspective of, well, let me finish the story. So Jackie is really good about reminding people that her life is private. What we see is her business. Part of her business is home style, beauty, get ready with me, makeup, clothing, her candle company, her scent, her perfume company, her and Dennis, I think, are starting a couple of, anyway, her what we see is her business. What she does out when that camera's off is her life. And she makes no apologies for keeping those two things separate. So when people get all up in their feelings in her comments about her life, not her business, but her life, she cuts them off. She cuts them off. She doesn't talk about it. She does not give she might on occasion make a video reminding people this is business, this is personal, you're not invited over here. Not invited. But she doesn't give a lot of airtime to people who think the relationship that they have with her is bigger than it is. I find and am finding that a lot of women, especially, are hungry for connection, especially now. And Gen X, we're no different. We want to be connected. We love being in community. We want to talk to people. We want to think that people see us and acknowledge us and want to be in community with us. But the parasocial relationships that people are in right now on social media with people they don't know is keeping them stuck in a loop of negativity and in a loop of feeling disconnected. For all the connection that people have to these parasocial relationships, they feel more isolated and more disconnected and less able to separate themselves from that person because they are so caught up in that person that they have forgotten that this is not real, beloveds. It's not real. It's not real. So we need to start thinking about our own feelings and you need to start weighing the relationships that you have because I'm going to tell you transference is a bear. I'm gonna use that word as opposed to the other one because the behaviors that people are engaging in these parasocial relationships, down in comments, carrying on and whatnot, all in their feelings, kicking their feet, throw punch in the air because somebody said something. Are you like this in real life? Do you have this kind of behavior to people in real life? When you're in relationships with people in real life and they do something that you don't like, do you punch the air and kick and scream and write 40-page messages and make 14 videos and send messages to their phone? Like, do you do this in real life? If you don't, why are you doing it online? Why are you doing that if this is not who you are, then why are you letting a parasocial relationship push you into making content that you wouldn't make in real life? I am the first person to say, I will tell you to your face what I will tell you online, which is why I don't say things online that I'm not afraid to repeat in your face. Because I value that authenticity that comes with knowing who I am and what I'm willing to do and how I'm willing to move in relationship. And far too many people right now, talking to my lovely lost generation who is a bit too loyal sometimes, but far too many of us have gotten emboldened behind the keyboard to act in ways that are so out of character for us. So that when something like a person doing a 180 comes along, it throws us into a tizzy because we have forgotten you're not, this person and you don't have a relationship. Y'all are not BFFs. Not BFFs. Even if you met them at a conference, even if you ran into them at the airport, right? Right? Y'all ain't BFFs. And until we remember that real life communication and real life relationships don't mimic those online, until we remember that the parasocial relationship isn't real, we're going to continue to see people flailing and kicking their feet and stomping their feet and carrying on over actions taken by a celebrity, or not even a big celebrity, but someone you consider a celebrity, someone that you're following, actions taken by them as personal when they're anything but. Not personal, not even about you. Didn't even think about you when they were doing it. Didn't even cross their mind when the decisions were being made. When the discussion was happening about the decision, you were not in the room. But we don't want to believe that because we feel a certain kind of way because of a relationship that we have formed with that person and they have now let us down. And I am telling you, you have to start thinking about this from the perspective of, why are my feelings tethered to the stranger on the internet? Is it because I'm lacking in community in real life? Is it because I don't know how to communicate well because I am lacking my own emotional intelligence and I'm so used to toxic relationships, and this person and I seem to have a non-toxic relationship, and even though now they're kind of a toxic person, I don't want to let them go because I don't know how to do relationships in real life either, and now this relationship's going bad. It is imperative, especially at this time in history, that we stop letting people be toddlers and we start asking them to be accountable for their own feelings about things. Because a lot of people are out on the interwebs throwing temper tantrums about people that they don't know. Now, I am not talking about being an activist. I'm not talking about fighting for causes. Y'all know that. I am literally talking about folks who are mad because Cardi B's pregnant. Just came across my phone. And what's going to be funny is all the think pieces that are going to start to happen because the woman's pregnant. Women get pregnant all the time, pretty much every day. There's a woman pregnant somewhere around the world. But people who are invested in the life of are going to have something to say for clicks and for clickbait. I'm not even going to put Cardi in my title because I know that that would drive engagement, but I'm not talking about Cardi, right? I am talking about you and your relationships and asking you, are you caught in a parasocial relationship? Are you stuck in a cycle in a relationship that's not even real, to the point where you don't even realize that you're acting so out of character for yourself? You have given away your own integrity because you have decided it's more important to have this parasocial relationship and react to it than it is to realize that's not personal. That's not even about me. And the one thing that Gen X women used to have in abundance, Gen X and X millennials, was discernment. Like, we understood the difference between fantasy and reality. We just did. We understood that in the very beginning days of computers and the internet and chat rooms and AOL and Yahoo, right? When we were still on MySpace and we were still trying to figure out how to dial that stuff up, it wasn't that we were looking for parasocial relationships. We just were like, oh my God, I can talk to this person in Germany. That's great. I don't know that person. I can remember being dating a guy. Oh my gosh, it's been a long time ago. Dating a guy who was really into ham radio, shortwave radio, and the relay system, the shortwave. Anyway, don't let me get too technical. But one of the things that he used to always remind me, or he would always say when he was talking about it, is that I know a lot of people. Like, this community is bigger than you think it is. I know a lot of really cool people, but I don't really know any of these people. But I know that if I were to end up in, I don't know, Saskatchewan, if there's somebody there with this handle that I could give my handle to, and together, they would help me out. They would give me a place to sleep, or they would, whatever the case may be. And I was like, but how do you know that person's real? And he's like, and you don't, and you got to be careful because anybody can get a license or bootleg a system together. You could be talking, they could be saying they're in Saskatchewan, they could be down the street. You don't know. Like, in some ways with him, you can figure some things out, but even in that more analog life, the parasocial relationship, again, you don't know who's on the other end of that radio. You don't know the people that are on the screen in front of you. This is why it's so important to have real life community, to have people that you invest your time with, to have people that you do some things with. Like, if this person hasn't invited you into their home for dinner, even if it was a virtual dinner, which we were doing this during the pandemic, Even if it was a virtual dinner and you just want to hang out together, are y'all having the kind of deep conversations that should elicit this response out of you based on something that they said on the internet? If the answer to that is no, you need to stop. You need to unplug, you need to check out, and you need to reevaluate your feelings and your emotional intelligence, because temper tantrums are going on all over the place. But the temper tantrums that some people are throwing around folks like Tabitha Brown are less, they're not at all about Tabitha Brown, and more so about the fear, the sadness, and the anxiety that people are feeling. And they're looking for reasons outside of themselves for them to be feeling that. They're looking for some reason outside of their own stuff for their fear, anxiety, anger, or sadness. Instead of sitting with their fear, anxiety, anger, or sadness and going, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm angry at the world, I'm anxious, and I need to figure out how to move out of that state for me instead of looking for people to blame for that state of being, right? Um, yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there because I don't want to beat the dead horse. And I just want you to get very clear about what's real and what is just social media, socially constructed reality that you can't step into and become part of because it's not your life. And I want to encourage you to find communities where you have to plug in, where you have to be present and people know your name more than just a, hey, you show up for my live every week. And but there are 500 of you. Those are great communities. I am building one of those every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, 11 Central Standard Time. I am building Life Reimagined, a community for Gen X women, like minded women to reimagine what life looks like after the transition. But I am very clear about who my friends are, right? You need to be clear about who your friends are. Who are the people that you really do life with? Who are the ones that you call hello on the phone, y'all? Who do you pick up the phone for? I guarantee you it's not Tabitha Brown or Cardi B or any other guru or content creator or whomever that you're following on social media. Now, if it is, more power to you. That means they're your friends, right? I assume that Beyonce calls Kelly Rowland all the time. Or maybe they don't. I don't know. But they have a relationship. Who do you call? Who do you pick up the phone with who knows the tenor of your voice so that when you say hello, they're like, oh, what's wrong? You don't sound like you. And I can tell from the hello that something's up. Who's that person? Because that's the person for whom, if they do the 180, get mad. Like that's the betrayal, right? That's the gut punch. Not the person that you literally, when they turn the camera off, you don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And you probably don't want to know because maybe it's really boring or maybe it's utter chaos. Either direction or somewhere in between, it's none of your business. Get into community with people for whom your business is their business, and then react to them in good, kind, and wonderful ways that build that relationship. And leave the parasocials to people who ain't got nothing else to do with themselves. All right, that's it. That's Dr. Sasheen. Hit like, subscribe, and share. I will see you all again next week on Tuesday, 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. Live, we will be covering, I don't know what we're going to cover. It's the tea break. If you're interested in getting some help for your anxiety, I've written a book called The Anxiety Solution. The link to that will be down in the description. I think it's down there in the description somewhere. That's it. If you want to support the channel, my Venmo is also down in the description. If you're a woman who is going through a divorce, I also have something for you down in the description. All right, that's it. That's all I got. I will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your day. Happy Thursday. Bye.